very warm welcome to all our Whirlpool viewers. Wonderful to have you back here in South Africa. This time we're in KwaZulu-Natal and we've got 4 races coming to you later on. But we've got a great panel to line things up and to get proceedings underway. And let me introduce them to you. Some of them you will be very familiar to you. First up, right next to me, Callan Murray. Callan, welcome back to South Africa firstly, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great to be on the show.
In terms of being back here as well, it's come off and pretty well. You've been in the winner's box quite a bit.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to have good support from Mr. de Kock and quite a few trainers, and it's kicked off well and hoping to keep it going.
Great, you've got some nice rides on Saturday. We're looking forward to getting those comments from you as well. Next up is a face you all know as well. Graeme Hawkins, thanks once again.
Thank you, Grant. What Callan forgot to mention was that he was in the Grade 1 winners enclosure last week and hopes to be again this week, so he's made a real impact on his return. It's great to be with you again, Grant, and we look forward to a wonderful day's racing.
No pressure for you, Graeme, because you were on form last year, and I think everyone will recall your suggestions in the race, and you need to do that again.
Yeah, last year we got it right. Dave the King at 10-1 and Cousin Casey to run second. They ran 1-2. We're not getting 10-1 Dave the King this time round, but I'm at the risk of saying too much too early. I'm very much in the Dave the King camp again.
Well, speaking of Dave the King, alongside Graeme Hawkins is none other than Mike de Kock, who trains Dave the King, and well-known face in Hong Kong as well, with multiple victories there. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Grant. Yeah.
I think it's due that you take a horse back to Hong Kong soon.
Well, we always want to. You know, it's been very successful for us, and obviously they make you feel very welcome there. But this is one horse I'd love to see there actually. In either the QE2 or the Chairman's Mile. The mile might just be a little too quick for him. I'd be keen to see him over 10 furlongs at Happy Valley.
Last runner there, was it Variety Club?
Variety Club was our last runner, yeah, the Champions Mile.
That was impressive.
Very.
It was a great day out as well. So looking forward to some of those memories coming back. And let's go straight into the races that we're bringing you today. The first race is going to be the Gold Challenge. Now this is over 1,600 metres. It's a Group 1 contest. It is S21 for our Whirlpool viewers. And let's go through the betting as it stands. Favourite is Dave the King, that is number 2, currently at 2.5. 3, See It Again, is currently trading at 3.6. Cosmic Speed, number 5, is at 5.6. Number 7, Great Plains, is at 7.1. 9, Oriental Charm, 7.1. 10-1, number 1, William Robertson. I think there's one of the panellists who's going to maybe suggest that we include that in the play. Number 8, Gladiatorian, is 10-1. And 11, Montaigne at 16-1 and 25-1, and better the rest. So let's go straight into it, and it's probably well worth starting with Mike de Kock on this one, as he trains Dave the King, who was very impressive on his last start, Mike, and that was a nice win.
Yeah, it was a very good win. You know, things didn't go well for us in Joburg with him. He just seems to be a horse that, firstly, probably doesn't enjoy altitude, and he just... you know, we had to go back to the drawing board with him. 2 really poor runs after a huge season, you know, winning 3 in a row. And we decided just to pull the plug on Joburg, bring him here. Obviously, he had some issues as well, respiratory issues, which we had to sort out. We've had to train him differently. These are all things that crept in, you know, sort of under the radar almost. We were quite surprised by his first very poor run back in Joburg. So, anyway, we got to the bottom of it all, brought him back where he's happy, and he's really happy at the moment, I can tell you that.
In terms of obviously the way he runs as well, he's fairly one-dimensional because that's the best performance he puts up when he leads.
Not always. If you go back to this race last year, he sat second and then took it up pretty early. I think he's because he's such a big striding horse, you know, that the others he's covering just way more ground easily. So it gives you the impression that he must lead, but he certainly doesn't need to. You know, if there's 1 or 2 that want to go quicker than him, he's very comfortable sitting behind them. But the thing is that at about 600, 800 to go, he really gets into a very good rhythm and then wants to go. So he looks to me like the kind of horse that can almost hold speed for longer. And I think that's because of the big action he's got. So yeah, I don't think completely one-dimensional, but certainly needs to be forward and use what is his gift, which is his high cruising speed and a big action.
Is he as well as you would have hoped him to be for this contest?
Yeah, I can't have hoped for anything different, to be honest. As I said, we've had to train him very differently compared to what we did last year. But it seems to be working really well with him. I thought his prep run, which was exactly the same race as last year, was more impressive this year. So but I would like to say that this, I think, is possibly a little more competitive than last year's race, barring one or two. I think the best in South Africa are here. We've got draw 2 in our favour, which is huge for him. You know, if you're drawn 14 and you've got to work really hard to get to the front, you just burn a little bit of extra juice that you're going to need at the end. So he's going to be there for free.
Final question to you. Biggest danger? Possibly see it again?
No, I'm going to say probably Gladiatorian, funny enough.
Okay.
I like the way he finishes his races off. He's for me is definitely. I think see it again. He's coming back second run after layoff. He looks like he's prepping for the July. But I'm gonna say Gladiatorian, the way the race is going to be set up, because there's plenty of speed in the race.
Okay, let's move to Callan, because I'll go to Graeme last, because he's got some interesting stats on Dave the King and some of his opponents that have taken each other on earlier in their career as well. Callan, obviously welcome back. You know this horse well, and you must be excited to ride him on Saturday.
Yeah, not all that well. The first time I sat on him was last Saturday, but I've done a fair bit of work on him and definitely very excited to be on his back on Saturday.
Were you happy with the way he was giving you the feel? Was he moving well?
Yeah, I'm very happy with the horse. Obviously, he had his issues, and watching his previous races, he could be quite aggressive. However, I think this year he's probably furnished into a bit more of a calm horse, and I think we saw that the way he raced last time, quite relaxed in front. As Mr. de Kock alluded to, that there's good pace in the race. Not really concerned with that, because I think he'll be able to settle and turn it on at the right time.
You heard Mike mention his stride. Did you feel that when you were on him?
Yeah, he's a big horse and he carries himself that way. He's a lovely mover and he's in a good space.
Right, Graeme, over to you. I know you tipped him last year, and I know you're in his camp again this year, but he's meeting a couple of horses that he met over the 1600.
Yeah, when you go back to him as a 3-year-old, I was mentioning off air that he ran 3rd in the Guineas as a 3-year-old behind Charles Dickens, who subsequently went to stud. 2nd in that race was See It Again, and 4th in that race was Cousin Casey. And it was interesting that those 3 horses came out last year to dominate the finish of the Gold Challenge, although Dave the King obviously got his revenge. I'm so encouraged to hear what Mike has to say, because if the right Dave the King arrives on Saturday, as we expect him to, he's following exactly the same path that he undertook last year, then I believe they're all running for 2nd. There is a lot more pace possibly this year, as Mike alluded to. He was 2nd for most of the journey, and then Muzi, who rode him last year, let him go before the top of the straight, and he put the race to bed in a matter of strides. I'm not sure that he's going to be 2nd. He might be 3rd or 4th, but as you heard Mike suggest, he's not one-dimensional. Yeah. I think Callan out of gate 2 is going to get the run of the race. There could be a couple that want to vie for the lead. There are a couple of known front runners. Montien from a wide gate is going to want to go forward. Quite what they do with Oriental Charm, I'm not sure. This is his first run in 5 months. But whatever the case, I think that that once he builds into his action, then he's got them off the bit. And I think that I'd like to see him hitting the front early in the straight, because that's his want, that's the way he runs, and he keeps up a resolute gallop all the way to the line. I do respect Gladiatorian. Mike de Kock mentioned as possibly the principal danger, but obviously wherever Gladiatorian runs, See It Again shouldn't be too far away. They ran 1-2 in the Drill Hall Stakes, separated by a nose. I do like a little bit of William Robertson. He's a very accomplished horse. He's had 7 starts as a 6-year-old this year for 5 wins and 2 seconds. He is a Grade 1 winner. His recent form has all been over 1,000 and 1,200 metres, but he's won 15 races, 5 of which have been over 1,400 metres. He jumps out of pole position, and I think he might be running on at them here at Greyville, particularly with the short straight, if they go too hard early. So I do think he is a trifecta quartet type of horse. And then just a quick word about the 2 3-year-olds, because 3-year-olds have been sweeping all before them this year. We've had them winning all of the major Grade 1 races against the older company. Cosmic Speed, he was one of those. He won the Grade 1 Horse Chestnut Stakes against older horses. And then Great Plains, while not rising to the heights of some of his fellow 3-year-olds, he's run in the Drill Hall when beaten Justin Neck was a good one. So the 3-year-olds need to be respected as far as the minor placings are concerned. But as I said, if the right Dave the King pitches up, then I think it's his race for the taking.
Callan, you're on the horse to beat?
Yeah, look, Mr. de Kock couldn't have prepared him any better, and I think certainly going to be the right horse on the day.
And Mike, you're fairly confident this could be a good start to the day for the punters.
Well, I've got to be. I'm training him. Yes, I can't fault what is. He's coming into this race really well. We have no control on how the race is going to be run. But in terms of his prep at home, I could not be happier.
All right, so it could be a good way to start. Let's get into the queue because it is looking like it is going to be number 2, Dave the King, for S2 number 1. S22 is the Hong Kong Jockey Club World Pools. This is the 1400 metre event and really is a wide open affair as well. The betting will suggest that as well, so let's take you through it. Number 8, Call Me Getrix, is on top along with number 9, Be Merry, both of them at 5-1. Next is number 2, Bevy's Delight, currently at 6.3. Also 6.3, number 3, So Hot, So What. Number 1, Lucrative, is at 8.3. Also 8.3, number 7, Oxalis Gold from the Mike de Kock stable, and Callan Murray jumps on board. 13, Scarlet McCaw, is currently at 8.3, and it's 10-1, Minogue and the rest. So let's go back to Mike as well, because he's got the runner here, that's number 7. And again, Mike, not without a chance in this type of field.
I quite like this filly, I think she got a poor ride last time. If you go back and have a look at it, almost given no chance. And got only beaten, I think, 2 lengths and change by Be Merry, I think it was. We ran second, and I think, Be Merry ran second or third there, did she? Third. So there's not a lot between them. And Be Merry had the run of the race. Muzi got her out, led, and rode a very clever race. So based on that, I'd like to believe wherever Be Merry is, we should be right on top of her.
So some decent value there as well, around 8.3 currently.
Yeah, if she gets a good early spot early on, she's a huge runner, this filly. She likes this course. She's had a good prep. I think it's a very open field. There's one up and comer here that it's not going to jump out at the page because of the ratings. She's not up there yet, but she will get there. Is So Hot, So What? Yeah. I think there's a filly that never stops doing. Keeps improving, put it that way.
Yeah.
Every time she runs, a hell of a turn of foot. In theory, by Socrat, should be better over the strip as well, and has the draw. I think last time she come from stone last from a fairly poor draw, 10 of 11.
Yeah.
She now jumps from 3. A huge runner. I think the rest of us are all very well exposed. This filly is not quite as exposed.
Yeah, she does look progressive. She has that
Very
look about her.
progressive, yeah.
Callan, obviously you may have jumped on board your filly here as well. What did you think of her and how's she doing?
Yeah, I've sat on her. She's in a good space. Mr. de Kock's got her in a good space. And what I do like about this race is I think there's going to be a good amount of pressure from what I can see on paper, which affords us the opportunity to track them into the race. And it also puts a bit of pressure on some of those more favoured horses that are going to race right on speed.
Again, from that draw, you're not really going to have any problems at draw 7 over the 1400.
I wouldn't think so. Based on what I see on paper, I think she's going to get into a pretty good spot, especially for, that I think they'll go a nice pace and she'll be able to just find a good rhythm and hopefully be hitting the line strong.
You've had a good look at the race. Who do you think your biggest principles are? Do you agree with Mike that it could be number 3, So Hot, So What?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Lucinda's in huge form and the horse obviously won very well last start. I suppose a horse like Bevy's Delight does have to have a bit of a chance, a bit better off at the weights from the last time they met and a good barrier advantage. So definitely an open race. Horse like Be Merry's obviously very capable, but from a wide gate it might be a bit tough.
Now, Scarlet McCaw would fit that bill as well. Looks to have some form, Graeme, but very unlucky with the draws at 13.
Scarlett McCaw's going to have it all to do, so I'm happy to pass her by. I was in the camp of Oxalis Gold when she raced in the Fillies Guineas. I also saw the race. She didn't get an opportunity to produce her best, now back over 1,400 metres. But I need to say right at the outset, this is an extremely, extremely competitive renewal of the Hong Kong Jockey Club Whirlpool Stakes Grade 2, 1,400 metres. I like the fact that numbers 2, Bevy's Delight, and 3, So Hot, So What, are nicely drawn. It's critical over 1,400 metres. So Hot, So What is improving, but at the weights right now, based on their recent encounter, Bevy's Delight has got the beating of So Hot, So What. We all recognise that So Hot, So What has got a lot more to come, so there shouldn't be too much to choose between them. I want to throw a few other names into the mix. 10 Minogue. I don't think we've ever seen the best of this filly. Richard Ferree rides, and when he rides in these big races, you take note. No offence to Callan, we take note of what Callan's doing, but Richard Ferree obviously is an eye-catching booking. Ran third behind Mia Moo. Mia Moo came out and won the SA Fillies Sprint. I think she's probably at her best, Minogue, over 1,400 metres. She's had much go wrong with her in her career, but she's in a good space right now, so I think she's competitive. Call Me Jetrix is as honest as the day is long. She's yet to miss a stakes check from 18 starts. Be Merry, third in the Fillies Guineas. Green Sapphire. These are all fillies with chances. This is not an easy race. Lucrative, warrants a mention. Won its last 2, drawn in pole position, but we haven't seen her since January. So I'm afraid it's very, very tough to nail your colours to the mast, but I'm happy to give number 7, Oxalis Gold, another chance. But I harbour a respect for many of the other runners. I think this is a race, it's a nice race in which to play a little bit wider, and you can get a result. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an upset.
Yeah, I thought the principles were 3 and 7, and I think that's probably what the panel agrees as well. But it's going to be competitive. It's going to be a bit of a cavalry charge when they come to the wire, but maybe it is Mike de Kock who can reel off a quick double. Next is S2-3, and this is going to be the Cup Trial. Another cracking contest, this time over 1,800 metres, and I'll take you through the betting as it stands right now. And it is number 10, Wild Intent, who's topping the boards at 4-1. Then number 4, Regulation at 4.6, 9 Underworld. This one currently trading at 5-1. 1 Pomodora's Jets at 6.3. Number 2, Pakaya is at 7.1. Zeets, number 13, is at 7.1. And number 3, Hotarubi, Callan Murray's ride, is currently trading at 12.5. It is 12.5 and better, the rest. So we'll go straight into Callan and chat to him about his ride, which is Hotarubi. What do you know about it, this runner, and what are you expecting?
Probably about the same as the public. I've only been able to watch replays and that sort of thing. Hasn't run well at the course yet, but albeit those races may not have been as suitable. Obviously a capable enough horse, and Mr. Terry seems to prepare them well on the day. The last run was good, so hoping that we can get a nice run from the gate.
Yeah, see, obviously last one was encouraging, so there is a bit of signs of life there for you.
Yeah, there certainly is a sign of hope, so hopefully that comes my way.
Having a look at the race, Callan, how did you look at it? Did you think that there was anything that you really had to contend with? Who would be the biggest dangers to you?
Yeah, look, I think the race is quite wide open. A horse like Wild Intent looks very capable. And then there's a few that will struggle at the weights. A horse like Regulation looks like he's on an upward trend, but doesn't really come in that well at the weights. Then there's a horse like Pomodora's Jet, who has been tested at the trip, but he looks like he's turned into a bit more of a furnished horse this year. And his last 3 wins have been quite impressive.
Okay. Mike, I'm going to go to you now because Wild Intent represents form lines that you'd know about as well, especially that run that was ahead behind Immediate Effect. That type of form, Immediate Edge, that must be a run that certainly ticks the box for you.
Look, he's a horse I rate highly, Immediate Edge. For me, he's if he gets into the July, he'll be very competitive. Wild Intent, in my opinion, is a very smart horse. He gave us 3 kgs that day when we beat him a neck. We didn't perform the next start in the Derby, which I thought he was a bit stretched and a bit, the soft ground wasn't really for him. But this is quite a serious horse. But he comes into the race carrying quite a penalty for that place in the Derby. As did, funny enough, Oriental Charm last year.
Yes, that's right.
He got quite a big penalty and defied that penalty and won this race. But he did have the run of the race, and if you look at the form, he beat Schumacher. So he actually improved quite a lot, Oriental Charm, on that run.
Well, he had to basically win the Cup trial to get into the July, didn't he?
Exactly. And I think there's a few that need to show their colours here. Wild Intent being one. I see there's a fair bit of a weight turnaround with him and Zeitz. Zeitz is another one that, the last run's got to leave you scratching your head. But the run before that, he must be a big runner. I mean, because Garrix has done quite a lot to confirm that form. Pomodora's Jet is a horse that seems to be spoken about quite highly. I would say that he's also got to show some really good form here. Firstly, that the trip is going to be no problem to him, and that he's in good form for him to get into the July, because his most effective form has obviously been over shorter. He needs to show that he's going to get the 2-2. So, and there's and I see them as a regulation, as Callan said, is on the up. But again, if one looks in terms of the weights, under quite a lot of pressure, in terms of where they are in the weights, some of them are quite out in the rating, a good few pounds out.
I think he's one of those horses like Oriental Charm, who basically needs to win this to get into the July regulation.
I would have thought, there's no doubt in my mind about that. On my honour, last time, really not going anywhere in the race, got a big penalty for that. So, I mean, I just don't see him doing anything, turning that around. Underworld seems to be a, fairly progressive 4-year-old. And I think one's got to watch those, with a handy weight of 57.5. He seems a very consistent sort. But I think, right at the bottom of the weights here, this horse, Zeitz, is the one that sort of catches my eye a little bit. But obviously the well-being has got to be trusted, because that last start was most disappointing.
Yeah, if that last start wasn't in there, it'd probably just about be topping the boards.
Favourite almost. Yeah. Especially at the weights.
And that yard here in KZN, Graeme's been in good form.
Certainly the Andre Nel stable, both in Cape Town and KwaZulu and Natal, in pretty good form.
Summary, you've heard from Callan, you've heard from Mike.
I think, look, this is a very competitive handicap in the true spirit of a handicap. My top choice would be Underworld. I think he brings the best form into the race, and as was alluded to earlier, I don't think 57.5 is too bad a weight to be carrying here. I mentioned the 3-year-olds earlier. On My Honour and Wild Intent both copped huge penalties, so perhaps this is not the ideal race for them. But although out at the weights, regulation is by a July winner, out of a mare who produced a July winner. So I recognise he's out of the weights, but he's here to do a job and to stick his hand up. And I think with the 3-year-olds doing so well throughout the season, both him and Zeitz, off bottom weight of 52, have got to enjoy a fair measure of respect. My roughie in the race, we always need to find a roughie. It's a handicap and it could throw. If you like Underworld, then you can't ignore the chances of Tunny Player. The blinkers go on. That's a late declaration. He finished only a length and a half behind Underworld last time. He's not necessarily the most reliable or the most genuine, but this is the kind of race that can produce at least 1 or 2 horses to run in the top 4 that are way out in the betting market, and Tunny Player could well fulfill that role. But it's a very competitive handicap. Snaith's other 2 horses, Pakaya and Regulation, we've mentioned. Underworld, we've mentioned. Pakaya, if the right Pakaya arrives, he's won a race of this nature over and over in the past, but he seems to be a bit of a moody individual these days, and you're never quite sure what to expect from Pakaya. But if the right Pakaya arrives, he will be there and thereabouts on the premises. But Underworld, for me, Tunny Player, my roughie.
I'll tell you what, JP Cuvelier, who's based in Hong Kong, will be absolutely delighted if he could get his runner here, Underworld, to come through and win. But it is a very open contest once again. But I think Wild Intent's form lines are also there for all to see and has to be respected. Next race is S24, and this is a Class 4 and another really open contest. So we'll go straight into the betting for it, and we'll show you just how open it is as well. Number 4, Tara Star, is your favourite, currently at 3-1. Number 7, Ayawi, this one at 3.6. Number 10, Gaelic Dancer, is currently at 6.3. 3, Daphne's Daughters at 7.1. And then you've got number 8, Lady of Vix, who's currently at 8.3, along with number 12, Million Voices, at 8.3. Number 1, Siesta Sunset, currently at 12.5. 5 is currently Sean Terry's runner with Craig Zaki at 14-1, and 9, Hurricane Cat, is at 14-1 as well. Then 16-1 and Better the Rest. Mike doesn't have a runner, and Callum doesn't have a ride here. So let's start with Graeme this time around and give him the opportunity to open up with another really trappy race. Graeme, this is wide open.
It's wide open. It's over the minimum trip of 1,000 metres. That's my one little concern that I have around number 4, Tara Star. She has won over the trip, but her recent races have all been over 1,200 metres. There's no doubt, though, with Richard Fourie in the saddle and out of gate 4, that Tara Star sets the standard in what is quite a shallow Class 4 race. If there's not a lot of form to go around, I'll mention 2 other runners. I'm quite interested in how this 2-year-old is going to go out of pole position. Number 1, Siesta Sunset. She made a comeback of a 4 months rest in a feature race, a Strelitzia Stakes. She was a no-show there, but I can't help but get the feeling that perhaps there's a little more to come. Being a 2-year-old, one would expect her to have some scope for improvement. Daphne's Daughter, Andrew Fortune, teams up for Justin Snaith. Recent form doesn't inspire too much confidence, but her last start over 1,200 metres, which was on the poly track, she showed a lot of toe. In fact, she over-raced and compounded quite badly over the last 200 or 300 metres. Back over the minimum trip from a neat draw. I wouldn't be totally shocked if suddenly number 3, Daphne's Daughter, turned that form around. But there are so many with glimmers of form, bits of form on which you could try and recommend them. But the form book does suggest that number 4, Tara Star, sets the standard.
Number 7, Yui, does that come into your recognition anywhere?
She hasn't raced since February. She's clearly got some talent. She was beaten by a low-grade horse called Trafalgar Square last time out. What worries me about Yui is that she's not necessarily the best at the starting gates. And in a race like this over the minimum trip, she needs to break well. And if she does, then she'll be a player.
All right, Mike, obviously wide open. You don't have a runner, but you've had a good look at the form. Anything stand out for you?
Yeah, well, get your dartboard out and throw a dart. It's about what it looks like. Look, the one thing for sure with 1,000 here, there's a massive bias in terms of the draws. If one looks at the stats, the further you get away from the rail, the less chance you've got of being really competitive. If one looks in terms of draws, this filly of Snaith's, which I don't think he would have brought here just for the bucket and spade. I think he's brought it here to think that he can have a winner with her. Now, she's been drawn 13 of 13, 9 of 9, and 8 of 9 the last 3 starts. She's, well-bred. She's drawn 3 now. Andrew's in great form. Although her last 3 starts don't suggest she'll be competitive, I firmly believe that she's not here for nothing, and that Justin must have some sort of opinion of her. I think if you're backing 4, you're backing Richard Fourie. That's probably why she's favourite, although her form is fairly consistent. As Graeme said, it's an interesting entry, the number 1 at the 2-year-old. I think a 2-year-old's got a hell of a lot to do when there's 13 others trying to come past her and you're drawn 1. She could be slightly intimidated unless she gets away from them. And then you've got number 10, again, this is going to have to fly out of the gates a length clear to be competitive from that draw, but it's going to have 49.5 on the back. And I think she is quite speedy early. So those look the ones to me on form. I'm going to lean towards the Cape form with the filly, albeit formless in the last 3. Prior to that, it would suggest she has a chance.
Yeah, well, if you look back in her form line, that was the form line I rang, was when she ran second behind B. Mary. B. Mary's in the feature race.
Yes.
Just before this as well. She ran just behind her. And now we've just been speaking with Graeme saying that it's quite an average class for this. So if she reproduces that run, Graeme, she's got to be a massive runner.
No, Daphne's Daughter on her best form is the one they all have to beat. No doubt about it. But she's got to put 3 in different runs behind her. But I agree with Mike. She's here. She's in KwaZulu-Natal. She's part of the Justin Snaith raiding party. It's expensive to come from Cape Town. Here it's 1,400 kilometres. So he is I'm sure expecting at least a win out of her, and she's not going to get an easier opportunity than this.
Absolutely, with the decent draw as well. Callan, how did you find the race?
Yeah, look, it's very tricky. A horse that possibly caught my eyes, a horse like Lady of Vix, whose only start at the course was a winner, and that was also off a rest, coming off a bit of a rest and a poor performance last start. Having watched its replays, it is very quick, so if it could overcome the gate and use that speed early, the form before the last start was always around the mark.
Okay, now comes the interesting part, gents, when I ask you for your best bet of the 4 races. So I'll start with you, Mike, because it might be easier for you, because you've got 2 really nice runners that we've been discussing. So best bet out of the 4 races that Will Pools will be taking from your perspective?
I'm going to back myself and go with Dave the King.
Dave the King. I think Graeme was hoping you were going to say that because he was big on that as well. Graeme?
Yeah, well, look, 3 very competitive races and 1 weight for age where the cream should rise to the top. And it's never easy to win the same race 2 years in a row, but I'm in Dave the King's camp.
There's no real new protagonist to come really challenge Dave the King, so he's actually taking on a field that he's used to.
He is, except for Great Plains perhaps, who might have improved significantly over the last 3 or 4 months. He should have the beating of Seared again and the rest of that brigade based on the form over 1,600 metres and particularly here at Greyville. So Dave the King for me.
Okay, 2 from 2 for Dave the King. Can we make it a hat-trick, Callan?
Yes, we can. Obviously, a super horse. We'd like to see him return to his throne here at Greyville, and I'm hoping he can do that.
All right, well, you got 3 solid votes for Dave the King. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to hosting you come Saturday here at Greyville Racecourse in KZN, and we certainly hope that we've brought you some advice that can make it profitable for you.